Welcome to the Financial Freedom Secrets Show. This is your host, Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor, helping business owners create financial freedom faster by mastering the language of money. Want to see how well you're tracking towards financial freedom? Complete our 40-point financial performance scorecard at wealthhealthcheck.com.au. That's wealthhealthcheck.com.au. The average score for most business owners is 18 out of 40. So complete the scorecard now and see how well you're tracking towards financial freedom. G'day guys, this is Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor, and we're here for another episode of the Financial Freedom Secrets Show. And I'm very excited about this show that we've got here today because I've got a special guest, Dean Keating from District 32. And District 32 is a business networking community, but it's one that's a little bit different than maybe you've experienced in the past. And I know that I've experienced both spectrums of the business networking space, of both a lackluster and in some cases have been probably a bit of a waste of time. And I've also had some phenomenal business networking experiences and some of my best business partnerships, a lot of my business growth, and even some really great friendships have come from those types of environments. So really excited to getting stuck into what makes the difference between the two. So Dean, thanks for making the time, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, really good, Jackson. Appreciate the invite today and looking forward to having a wee chat with you as well.
It's going to be great, mate. So give us a little bit of your origin story and I guess the origin story of District 32, mate.
Sure, yeah. So my own background now would be, ironically, it's 32 years in business development and sales. So I worked across a number of it. Started off doing door-to-door sales in the great weather in Glasgow and Dublin back home. So that's kind of where I suppose I kind of got the grounding for and the early education around sales, business development. So from there I progressed, worked in merchant banking, recycling technology, telco, and then I spent about 5 years, Jackson, kind of just outsourcing myself to different businesses. So wide ranging, anything from financial services, IT, software, security companies. So again, the sales process is kind of it is similar for most businesses. It's just the product or terms and conditions. But that was a really good experience, kind of interacting with so many different business leaders. And I think probably what I learned from that was generally I find with business leaders, they're geniuses at what they do, whether it's IT, accountancy, whatever the case may be. But I think I found that business development and sales was a challenge because it's not something that you get trained in. I mean, when you start a business, you have a great idea and there's a need in the marketplace, but how do you get it out there? How do you frame those conversations? How do you source the leads? So I had 5 successful years between Dublin and Perth in Western Australia, outsourced myself. But I kind of felt there was a lot of demand for what I was doing, but I couldn't grow the business because it was just me and there wasn't too many people keen or had that skill set of kind of doing business development from the ground up. So I was fortunate enough when I landed in Perth, I crossed paths with Lorraine Garvey, who's my business partner in District 32. So Lorraine's background would be around marketing strategy, very strong technology background. So we had very complementary skill sets, and both of us were big fans of networking as a growth strategy. So we brought our heads together. We didn't want to recreate something that was in the marketplace in Australia already. We wanted to create something that was different. And hence District 32 was born in just 9.5 years ago now. So we're getting close on that 10th anniversary.
It's fantastic, mate. Congratulations. So
Cheers to that.
let's talk a little bit about networking. As I mentioned before, there's this big contrast of experience. And I think there's also people out there that don't really understand what the value in networking is.
Yeah.
So in your experience, particularly in District 32, what is the value of networking the right way?
Yeah, I mean the value is phenomenal. I mean, if you look at there's surveys out there from a lot of the top CRM companies, like for example Salesforce and HubSpot, and what they will say is 85%, between 60 and 80% of business is from word of mouth and referrals. So if you kind of take that stat and think, okay, well, how do I get in front of people to get those introductions, those referrals, those collaboration, joint venture? Networking is an obvious strategy. But I do take on board what you said earlier on there, because I've had some bad experiences myself over the last 3 decades, and I have some really positive ones as well. So I think it's important for as an individual you find, I suppose, a tribe that kind of has the vibe that you like, where you feel comfortable, you feel relaxed, and that you're walking away from that event or networking group motivated, inspired. you feel like you're getting support. And obviously there should be a business development aspect to your networking as well. But it's important to kind of realize there's more to it than just I suppose card swapping and in the hope of getting referrals. There's so much more to it than just than that as well.
Makes sense, mate. So in your experience, what's the key to success in networking? What's the kind
Yeah,
of proven process that you've seen
yeah,
members, particularly in your community, come in
yeah.
and implement and get amazing results?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to get involved and be curious. Like I made the rookie mistake myself when I started in networking. I came along with a bunch of business cards, and I kind of felt I've joined your organization, opened the vaults of your database. Here's my card, and obviously I learned that doesn't work. It's like any kind of sales strategy. You need to build up that trust before people feel comfortable kind of making introductions and at that. So it comes down to trust. So you got to ask yourself the question: how do I build trust? So for me, the first thing is be curious. Find out what people do in the group. What their business is about, what the strength of it is. Do they have a niche? Who's their target market? Who are they looking to meet? What are the challenges in their business? Those questions kind of give you a real good. And I mean, if you're asking people questions, it's building up the trust. It's showing the interest in a genuine way, and just see where how can you help them? Because no matter what business you're in, we all have challenges. And if you kind of help someone, it really does fast track the trust. So kind of go with an open mind, be curious, and look to make those connections. Is probably I think is a key rule when you kind of get involved in networking.
Makes sense, mate. And I guess on the flip side, are there certain things that you shouldn't do that are going to potentially impede your ability to get results from involving
Yeah,
in networking?
yeah, good question. So I suppose you got to think about it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're your brand. You're representing your brand. So how do you want your brand to show up? So I mean, it's just some basic stuff. Even be on time. Look at your appearance. I mean, I've come across people over the years who are great at what they do, but they don't kind of look the part. So what type of image are you trying to portray? I mean, you're a walking brand. You are the face of the business. So just those basics. But then kind of think how are you think about how are you going to interact with people? So don't make that rookie mistake I made and start pushing business cards. Because straight away people, oh, Jesus, well, they're being wary. So you're just looking to make a connection. I mean, if you go to a networking event, a successful night, if you make out between 1 and 3 decent connections where you can maybe go for a coffee afterwards or link in with them, that's a massive success. Like it's very rarely anyone goes to a networking event and gets a sale on day one, because we're all in the business of people, which means you're trying to build trust. So it's a medium term strategy. I would never just say to anyone that networking is a silver bullet. It takes time, and it's like any sales strategy. You got to put some time, energy, and effort into it for sure.
Yeah, and I've certainly found the same, mate, is that I know my own silly mistakes of going to networking
Yeah,
early on is that I go there without having a really good way to explain concisely what I do and who I help.
yeah, yeah,
Because if I can't articulate it, then the other person on the other side of the conversation is just going to smile and nod, and they're not
yeah,
going to have any idea. And
yeah,
I think it's that law of reciprocation, right? Is that
yeah.
if you get to know them and understand where they're at, then you can start trying to create the connections of how you help each other. And
Exactly.
the thing I've found, Dean, I'm sure you've experienced this too, is that the great thing about networking, particularly a really good networking group, is it's rising tides lifting all ships, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
There's referrals and opportunities, but there's collaboration, there's problem solving, there's just support because sometimes it's a lonely space being a business owner, right?
Oh, 100%. It's just a conversation I had yesterday with one business owner, and she said, I really appreciate the network because it's a lonely space. My family don't understand why I'm in business or the challenges. They're wondering why I'm doing 60 hours a week for half the money I was on in the corporate world. So it can be a lonely space. And I think probably since COVID, you've a lot of business leaders who are maybe solopreneurs and they're working from the home office. So that interaction just for inspiration, motivation, and support is a key part of why we should be networking as well.
Makes sense.
Mm.
Look, I think the next part really is that look, business owners are time poor. They are doing that 60
Mm.
hours a week potentially for half the money,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So how much time do you think a business owner needs to carve out of their schedule on, say, a weekly basis if they do want to commit to networking, whether it be
Yeah.
attending networking events, and then of course the flow on
Yeah.
one-on-ones and that kind of thing.
Yeah, good question. I suppose as a business leader, you got to look like networking is one strategy. So you got to look at your whole week. What percentage of time am I given? So a question, I got asked that question recently by a solopreneur, and I said, well, listen, I would recommend 20% of your week is focused on business development, and
Sure.
that 20% could be made up of your networking events, your one-to-one, your telesales, whatever the strategies you've got in place. I suppose for me, over the last 30 years, it's been at least a networking every week. With District 32, I mean, there's a number of options. Like our local members, it's bi-weekly. But the key to, I think, networking is leveraging off that for the one-to-ones, those catch-ups,
Yes.
which are the keys to success. So for me, I'd always recommend do a minimum of 2 one-to-ones a week. Even if you're busy, like, because I know probably most business leaders are out the door busy trying to, but you got to think about it. If you're busy now, projects finish, they come to fruition. And if you haven't been kind of working on your strategy over that period, you're back down to ground zero. And what that means is it's taking the good stuff, maybe the profit or the wealth you've made from those projects to get you over a period. So always be kind of prospecting and networking is just a good way of leveraging a bigger group of people.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think
Mm.
that's a good system. Look, the interesting thing is we went all in on joint ventures and networking and strategic partnerships after we got banned from Facebook advertising.
All
And
right.
basically all of our paid advertising come to a
Yeah.
grinding halt. And
Yeah.
I set the numbers for myself, Dean, that I was going to meet with 8 partners a week. So whether that be
Brilliant.
new or existing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it might be just flicking them an email with something of
Yeah.
value or giving them a call
Yeah.
and sharing something or
Mm.
checking in with them, whatever it might be. But it needs to be 8 touch points a week. And
Yeah.
the idea is to do about 8 JV activities a month, whether that be a webinar or a podcast or an email swap or something
Mm.
like that. And
Mm.
we built a multi 7-figure business off the back of that.
Yeah.
And like it just goes to show
Brilliant.
you put in the work, you add the value, and the rewards come.
Yeah, Jackson, I think that's a brilliant figure you've got there. Like, I suppose my aim over a week, but over the last 3 decades has been 10 one-to-ones a week. I would say
Beautiful.
probably the last 6 months I'm hitting on average about 8, but it's which
Yeah.
is similar to yourself. It's a really good number, because it's so valuable, the one-to-ones. And if you're time poor, I mean, take advantage of stuff like Zoom, because I think people are a bit more okay with it since COVID.
Of course.
And I think if you kind of say to someone, listen, hey, Jackson, I'm really keen to catch up. I'm just bogged down on projects. Is there any chance we could catch up in Zoom for 30 minutes? And it's like, if you can't meet them face to face for coffee, Zoom is actually, it's a good compromise if you're really kind of struggling on the time front.
It certainly is, right? And look, I'm in Cairns, you're in WA,
Yeah,
so if it wasn't for
exactly.
Zoom, we couldn't have caught up otherwise. So
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's brilliant, and I suppose it's more mainstream now than it was,
for
say,
sure.
5 years ago. So, and I think that's been a massive help to me, even in terms of trying to hit that 8 to 10 one-to-ones in a week. I would estimate probably 30%, 35% of them are over Zoom.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it makes it easier to try and keep up with that 8 to 10 meetings a week as well, which is great.
Certainly does, mate. But look, I guess those meetings, they have to be the right meetings.
Yeah,
And we were just talking before that you've made some really great high caliber introductions for me, so I really appreciate. And
yeah,
this is the value of being connected with the right people, because
yeah,
there's no point having one-to-ones with people who are not the right fit. And that
yeah.
ultimately turns into a bit of a waste of time. And I've heard time and time again, people go to networking and either the people are too far advanced
Hmm.
or that they're too big for everyone else and they feel like the big fish in the small pond.
Yeah,
So, mate, in your experience, how does a business owner find the right networking community
yeah,
based on their stage of business?
yeah. That's a great question. Like I've heard people say to me in the past, network's a waste of time. I joined such and such a group, and the people weren't in the room. So I suppose from experience, if I go into say for the first time to a new room, like a figure I have in my mind is everyone in this room has 3,000 connections, and I can justify that quite easy. If you think of people's LinkedIn connections, their existing clients, past clients, their pipeline, they might be involved in sports, charity. So it's quite easy to see how people could have up to 3,000, if not more, connections. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to kind of sell through the network, not to the network. Like, so you'll pick up sales in the room by default because you're a good human being and you're good at what you do. But what you're trying to really do, the bigger picture stuff with networking is sell through the network. And to be honest, I actually see every meeting, and I mean every meeting, as an opportunity, because the person across the table for me mightn't be an ideal fit for me. They might hate networking, hate people. But the thing is, they have connections, and if you kind of ask the right questions, and kind of, and obviously look, as you said earlier on, give to receive, and all that good stuff. Like, people in business generally are I find them, they are helpful. They're looking, if they can turn a stone over for you, they will try to help you. But again, I suppose my own philosophy, which I think is very similar to yours, is give first to receive later.
Yes.
And I think if you give first, it's really easier to ask people for help. Like, if you've come to the table first. So never presume anything. You just never know who's in someone's database. I mean, sometimes you could meet a solopreneur and you can think, oh, they wouldn't have much to offer, but if they could be their client base could be huge. You just never know. So never make presumptions is something early I learned in sales all those years ago.
I think it's really good advice. And I know whenever I've gone to a networking event, I always go with a really specific intention.
Yeah,
And sometimes I change that each time. I'm like, hey, I'm looking to connect with more accountants, or I'm
yeah,
looking to connect with more business coaches, or I'm looking to
yeah.
connect with more of these people. And it's interesting, the most unassuming people sometimes have the most powerful
Oh,
Rolodex of people in their
100%.
contacts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You just never know. And going back to what I said earlier on, is always be curious. Like, ask the questions in an authentic way, like what people do, who they like working with, who have they worked with, and where you can kind of help them. Because the
Sure.
information people share, if you're showing interest in a genuine manner, is absolutely phenomenal, and you just never know where that can go. But I'll always be curious, that's for
Yes.
sure.
Makes sense. So, mate, I'd love to learn more about District 32.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about what makes you guys unique compared to maybe other networking groups that
Yeah,
exist around Australia.
yeah, great question. Like, as I said earlier on, like, we kind of set out with the intention of being different. We didn't want to be 2.0 of what was in the marketplace.
Mm.
So I suppose, at a quick glance, like, we've a tiered model. So we work well with business owners who are looking for growth, from startups all the way up to seven-figure businesses. So we've got three different tiers. So depending where someone is on their journey, we can recommend. We have an option that will kind of suit what they need to get to that next level. So that would be probably a key difference to what's in the marketplace. I think, and it's very interconnected model. So we don't see borders, and I don't mean just interstate or international, but even locally. So like, our members have full access to the whole community, where regardless of location, through either other events, online platforms, or directories, whatever. But we're very kind of proactive on the front line in terms of looking to get our members in front of the right people who they're looking to meet. So that's something we're proactive on a daily basis. We've been described as kind of a very modern business networking group. Like, we embrace technology, we embrace change. We're always looking to be innovative. Like, probably our most recent innovation will be around, like, we've launched our own magazine, The Business Profit. And that's been really well received, by not just by members, but by people in the business community. And all things going well, we're looking at smashed 100,000 audience on that this month. So fingers crossed.
Fantastic.
Um, yeah, we only launched 8 months ago, so we're excited about that. And like, we believe in kind of partnerships and working with other organizations. So we've worked with a number of organizations that benefit our members, where we kind of see opportunity. So anything we do is with the focus of, will this benefit our members, or how can they leverage off this partnership? And that's been a really good philosophy, kind of since we started. Yeah, so they'd be kind of our chief probably difference to what's in the marketplace. And probably lastly, we've a massive focus around education and knowledge, because as you'll appreciate, we know, like, leads will get you and referrals will get you so far. But if you're really looking to get to the next level, you need to sharpen the sword on business acumen. So our events are peppered with education. We've got keynote speakers live every month. So massive focus around sharpening the sword for our members. And we've seen that come to fruition from members who were startups and are now seven-figure businesses over the last 5-6 years. So it's a good endorsement, I suppose, of what we're trying to achieve for business leaders.
I think that's a testament to the value of the community and the support that you provide, which is awesome. So if people want to find out more about District 32, how are they best to find out more?
Yeah, listen, feel free to link in with myself directly, either through LinkedIn or by email, dean@district32.com.au. I'll be delighted to have a conversation. But anyone, you never know where it might go.
Fantastic. And you've got a challenge that's available?
Yeah. So we just launched our 32 day challenge. So it's 7 minutes a day for business leaders and a focus around business growth. So we're looking to have an impact on businesses within 32 days. So this is our first runner. We're halfway through the first one at the moment, and feedback has been phenomenal. And we're looking to roll out a new one in the next 2 months. Yeah. So if anyone needs any information on that, give me a shout. Be keen to put a challenge out there for all business leaders.
That's great. We can always do with a great challenge, particularly when we're growing. We'll include all the links in the show notes.
Appreciate that. Thanks a million.
Now, Dean, if you had to leave everyone with one last golden nugget of wisdom, what would that golden nugget be?
Oh, it comes at one thing. Show up. Like if you're looking for growth, what are you doing this week? Where are you going to show up this week? Whether it's your networking, your one-to-ones, on the phones, where are you going to show up this week? Because activity breeds connections, which breeds results. So just show up with intent and with curiosity as well.
I love that, mate. I think it's so important. There's a lot of people who are in their passenger seat of their business and they're just reacting to what's happening, and they've got to be in that driver's seat and do the activity if they want to get the results. So I think that's been said beautifully. So guys, this has been another episode of the Financial Freedom Secrets Show. Just remember, a good idea in theory remains exactly that, just a good idea until you put it into practice. So make sure that you implement off the back of this. Jump on the links in the show notes, connect with Dean and the team at District 32, and we look forward to catching you next time. Dean, appreciate you making the time, and we'll catch up again soon.
Appreciate it, Jackson. Have a great one. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Thank you, mate.